Hey everyone, this is Srinivas here and you are watching Tricks and Codes. In the last video, we have built the Hello World project using Spring Boot, but we haven't discussed in detail about the components of what Spring Boot project provides us. So in this video, we will see what a default Spring Boot project provides us and we'll also see how it works. As I am using IntelliJ IDEA to create my project, this file system structure might be different from the other IDEs. So here we can able to see dot .idea and we can able to see several files. And I forgot to mention that this dot .idea will be created once we start our project. So don't be confused if this is not exist in your IntelliJ IDEA. And we can able to see the file dot get ignore. So what this one do is, so let's say you have completed all your coding part and testing, everything is done. Then what you will do is you will push the project to the GitHub, right? So this file will take care that what are all the files to be ignored while pushing the code to the Git. You heard it right. It will ignore the temporary files of this project. Example, let's say all these files under this dot idea will be ignored. And coming to the compiler.xml, this file will have the compiler related settings in the IntelliJ area. The next one is encoding.xml. This one stores the character encoding settings for the project. The next one is jar repositories.xml. This one used for managing remote or local jar repositories used by the project. Typically used for managing dependencies manually. The next one is misc.xml. This stores the miscellaneous project settings, which can include the code style, Java version, and build tool settings. Coming to the last and final one of this idea folder, that is workspace.xml. This file contains user specific workspace settings. And coming to the below one, ambient folder, we can able to see wrapper, and under that we can able to see maven-wrapper.properties file. This one defines the properties for the Maven wrapper. It specifies the Maven version and the URL to download it. So all these settings which we have seen till now we are not bothered about, but the actual structure which we are going to use will start from this src folder. Under this src folder we can able to see two folders. One is main and the second one is test. If you go to main, we can able to see Java and resources. We will see the resources part later. Now we will focus on the Java folder. If you expand this, we now able to see only one folder. But actually the project which we are going to build will be held here only. So once we build the project, you can understand how many new folders will come here. The next one we are going to see is com.tnc.themap folder. And finally, this one is the main class file of this entire project. And now we will go and see the resources part. Here you can be able to see two folders and one property file. First we will discuss about the two folders. The first one is static. When I say static, you must be remembering something, right? Like the word static stands for fixed or constant, which means you must keep such type of files in this static folder, such as JavaScripts, CSS, images, and etc. And the next one is templates. In these templates, we used to place the HTML files, which has the template of time leaf. Now, when we come to this application properties file, and initially this file will be empty, but we are going to configure the external project configurations here. Like we used to add the database connectivity configuration details and the email SMT configuration details and all such type of configuration details in this file. So the next one will be the SRC test. So here basically we used to write our test cases of our project, like unit test classes or integration test classes. We will see them once we are building the project. And the next one is target. We can ignore this for now. We will see when we are discussing about the mapping. The next one is git attributes. So this one is a file in our project is used to control how git handles line endings, file encodings, and file specific behaviors across the different operating systems like Windows, Linux or Mac. The next one is git ignore. It is the same one which you have seen in the .ide folder, and it is for the same purpose to ignore the temporary files when we are pushing the project to the git. So the next one is help.md. This is the documentation generated by the Spring Initializer, where if you stuck anywhere in building the application, you can easily refer this documentation to proceed ahead in building your project. The next one is MVNW. This is the Maven wrapper script for the Linux and for Mac OS devices. And the next one, mvnw.cmd. So this is also a Maven wrapper script, but this is for the Windows OS. So the last and most important one is the pom.xml. This is actually the Maven project configuration file. This is the main configuration file for the entire project because all the required dependencies of the project exist in this file only. So as we are using the Maven, this file is named as pom.xml. Pom stands for project object model. If this is a gradle, then this might be build.gradle, but the format will be different for the gradle, and it is just a simple XML format for this Maven pom.xml file. So whenever we need a new dependency, we just go to the Spring Initializer or Maven repository and search the required dependency over there, and we'll come here and we'll add the external dependencies. And the next one is external libraries, which we have seen already in the previous video. I think you all have got some basic idea of these files and its folders which are exist in our Spring Boot project. Now we will go to the main class and we will see the components over there. Here in the main class and in the main method, we are able to see Spring application.run method, right? So what this will do, this will basically runs the Spring application. It is basically creates a container for us to help in running the application which we are going to build. Now you will be asking what is a container here. So when we talk about our project, you basically have a lot of classes inside our project, right? So let's say you have class 1, class 2 and so on. And now you are saying, hey Spring Boot, it is your job to create an object of those classes. And Spring says, yes, of course I will do it. But where exactly it will create the object? Of course, the objects are created inside the JVM, and you will be having this box as the JVM, and this is our project. And so when we talk about the Spring will have its own container inside the JVM, which we call it as an IOC container. Now in this container, we will create all the objects of our classes. Of course, we don't require objects for all the classes. If we want to have an object for class 1 or class 3, it will create objects for only those particular classes. So the Spring Boot will create an object inside this container. It depends on how many objects you want and for which classes you want the objects for. So with this, we can able to say to run the Spring application, you don't require any classes or object, but we must need this container to run our project. And this line which is here is able to create the container inside the JVM. So when it says Spring application.run, it will run this container for you. But to have a complete application which you want to look like, We must also need objects, right? And for those objects, we must require classes. And we will create the classes without no doubt. But for which one? I mean, we need to build some project, right, to create a class. So first we need to think about the project. And in this series of video, we are going to build a project called to-do management list. I know this project is covered by so many people in the YouTube, but we will see it in a separate manner. So we will discuss more about this project in the next video. And until then, please like this video, share with your friends, and do subscribe to this channel.